Assalamualaikum. Good morning. Welcome, Mr. Koko.
Waalaikumsalam. Good morning.
Mr. Koko, we wait few minutes for other students to enter.
Yes, yes,
Right.
please.
Mr.
Yes.
Koko, is there any other students from UBHINUS this morning?
This morning we will not be joined
Okay.
by students from UBHINUS, so we can go on with the UiTM students. Right?
Okay. Then. Okay, I think we can start now, yeah. So, Assalamualaikum, good morning, everyone. So, before we begin our sharing session this morning, I think we begin recitation with Al Fatiha first, eh? So, we are very honored today, yeah, to have a lecturer, Mr. Koko Wahyu Prasetyo from Universitas Bihanika Nusantara, Malang. Yeah. So Mr. Koko has very vast experience in project management. So we are very glad that we can catch his busy schedule with us for this morning. So inshallah, so let me introduce to all a bit on Mr. Koko. Yeah, basically, Mr. Koko is a project manager over 50 years experience in software development, software information system implementation, and then what we call certified in CAPM and ITIL, solid grounding on project governance, organization strategy, as well as business objective and long-term institutional growth. So I think later Mr. Koko will introduce details on the contribution or on the what we call contributions of Mr. Koko in this particular area. So without further ado, I think I would like to invite Mr. Koko to share with us a bit on built not adopted why information system project fails regarding the project management. So with that notion, sir, please, Mr. Koko.
Yeah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To our fellow colleagues and students from University Teknologi Mara, Malaysia, Dr. Mazura, Dr. Adila, and our fellow students. Thank you so much for having me this morning. I'm so happy that I have another opportunity to have a discussion about on something that is very interesting to me, that I'm very eager to learn together. So I'm going to share a little bit about some, I think, some interesting aspect of IS project management that I would like to share with all of you. So please allow me a few minutes to set up my screen. Okay, let's see. Okay, can you please confirm, Dr. Mazura, that the screen is already there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the screen
Yeah.
is on. Yeah,
Okay, and the voice is okay. It's not breaking or anything.
loud and clear.
Alhamdulillah. Okay. Okay. So, uh, this morning I would like to invite all of you to, maybe we can look at the information systems projects from a different perspective. So usually in most of our courses about project management or any certification that uh, discussing about project management is mainly discussed through the iron triangle of project management. I think the term is iron triangle, or the project management triangle. Like, is it consisted of the scope management, the schedule management, the cost management, and then the quality management as the outer frame of the triangle. So yes, I do believe that those concepts is fundamental, and it is important that we learn about it. But actually, in the real project, it will not tell the whole story about the project. So sometimes, and based on my experience, most of the times, The software, the information system that is created through the project, yes, it is developed, it is delivered, and then they get tested and accepted by the users. And technically, it is a functional system, but most of the times the project is still cannot be classified as a success. So mainly because the user do not completely trust the system to work and to help them in their daily work. So I will invite you to see with the other perspective in the project management. So, oh yeah, okay. So let me introduce myself quickly. My name is Coco. Uh, I was beginning my professional career as a software engineer maybe around 18 years ago, I think. Yeah. And then 5 years after that, I decided to return to the university as a one of the faculty staff. But at the same time, I was assigned to oversee the overall system development and architecture of IT system in the university. And I've been doing that role for, I think, probably 12 years or so. So yes, uh, I, I cannot say that I know many things, but I think I do know one or two things about project management and software requirements or software products actually that I would like to share with you all today in this morning. So without further ado, I would like to ask you to imagine uh, if there is a certain IS projects that looks successful on the go live day and say the finish line and when the project reach the finish line, usually there will be a presentation, there will be a meeting between the project team and the clients or the sponsors, and usually it is a happy times there. So all of the attendants are happy because the software have been tested and the projects and the software is ready to be implemented in the institution. So the vendor is confident about the result. The teams feels happy because uh, finally the work is done and so like that. Uh, at that day, usually the system of the software is there, is ready to function, ready to be used, and ready for the people to work on it. And then, from traditional perspective, this kind of environment is looks like success on the paper, or at least when we present on the meeting, we feel like that it is a success. You know, all of the objectives have been checked off the to-do list, and we can see that we can feel that the work is done. But after that, you know, let's say we'll fast forward to 3 months later. Uh, the system is, of course, is still there. It's still available to be accessed, but it is no longer the center of the work for the people in the organization. So the users actually returning to their original way of working, maybe using spreadsheets or maybe using Excel or maybe any kind of platform that they used to work with, you know, because they feel that the old way of working it seems faster and more familiar, and yet the new system that have been implemented through the projects is not being used completely and just being left there without any user accessing them and use them. So in some of my experience, actually it is much quicker than 3 months. I've been assigned on this project probably around uh, let me remember the year, probably around 2013 or 14. Uh, Even it does not last a whole month. So after the presentation from the vendor, not until 1 month later, the users keep complaining and they decided to totally ignore the new system, and they just work into they're just working with the usual way of working before the new system is implemented. So that kind of things is usually happen in the real environment of the projects. So again, the approvals and the acceptance of user are administratively have been performed in the previous meetings that I told about in the previous slide. So the system is technically there, it still exists, but actually the organization has not changed at all. Maybe they changed a little bit, but they just reverted back to the original way of working. So I think this kind of situation will produce an uncomfortable questions for all of the related stakeholders of the project. So how if the system is actually work, the system have been completely developed, but it is still classified as a failure because the user is not using it properly. So I think uh, if indeed the project is classified as a failure, it is not because the software is broken. It is not either. It may have failed because the people that intended to use them actually don't want to change how they work. It may have failed because the users probably did not trust the system completely to do the work for them, or maybe they do not trust that the new system are as efficient as the current process that they usually do. So the new system may have delivered the required features, I think, but at the end of the day, it failed to deliver adoption for the users. So this kind of problems actually happen in so many projects that I've worked with in during my experience. So later when I do a little bit of reading, do a little bit of exploring the literature or something. Well, actually, the information system project is classified as technical projects, of course, because all of us learn about the computer science aspect of this knowledge there. But actually, it is a technical project that resides inside the human system. So the human systems are the fundamental part that cannot be ignored when dealing with information system project. So I think we will have to look more into the definition of success that is usually taught in the courses of project management. And I think we need to sometimes to shift the perspective. We need to find a different angle in seeing how the project is commonly evaluated. Yes, that I do believe that the traditional project criteria, it is useful to be used, of course, that's why they are there in the handbook or any project management textbook, but I think it is still incomplete. A project can be look successful in a formal report, and it will still deem as a failure in the daily practice in the real world. So many failed system will have to go through a certain formal report at the end of the project, like the project manager needs to make sure that the scope is there, the schedule is on time, the cost is on budget, and that the quality checklist is have been going through the assurance system or assurance procedure that have been uh, planned previously on the beginning of the project. Yes, the checklist is complete, the contract is fulfilled, the contract is complete, and the closure report, usually the consultant will make it look professional and complete and finished and polished. And so the project team can say that, yes, okay, we deliver what was requested by the sponsor. But this kind of formal acceptance does not always mean that the system will be adopted by the user. Yes, the project can be accepted by the management that present in the presentation session, the stakeholders that were there during the presentation. But after the system is going to the production and go live, actually it will not be touched even by the users that actually do the work. So these kinds of statements is can can be seen, can be seen a lot of times in the various project management textbooks, that a successful project means the scope is delivered and then the schedule is met on time, and then the cost is successfully controlled on budget, and then the quality is okay. It passed the various tests that have been planned on. Yes, this is a classic success measure of a project management, but I think there's an important question that we need to ask for ourselves if we are being assigned as a project manager. The most important question is whether the outcomes or the outputs of the project will make the user or the people that we aim in actually can work and can do the work better with the results that we've created in the project. This is the question that will change the whole conversation about project success. So most of the times the new system can cause confusion. It can cause a duplication in their works. Sometimes they will cause an unnecessary manual work, additional work that originally is not there before the system is introduced. So if one of the answer is no, maybe certain people get confused or certain people complain that they have to do additional things to complete their work. So actually the delivery alone, that we deliver the systems, is not enough to be classified as a success. Because actually the success and failure can be present in the same line. So a information system project can be classified as success in administratively, and at the same time it will be classified as a failure organizationally. So that is the common thing to begin the discussion of this morning. So before I continue to the next section of this presentation, I would like to invite all of you. I would like to invite all of you who are joining with me today. Let's say that I have several questions along the way. And the first question is this, and you can read on your screen. What do you think is the clearest sign that an information project has failed? There are several options that, and I would like to ask your opinion about this. So please, you can raise your hand or you can type it on the chat box, or yes, you can interact with us in however the most convenient way that you have, please. So which one is the clearest sign that an IS project has failed? The option A, the project missed the deadline, so it is related with the schedule, obviously, or the project exceeded the budget, so maybe the PM did not do a great work at uh, cost management, a user avoid the system after go live, or the system has many bugs or many errors during the implementation. So which one do you think is the clearer sign that the project has failed actually?
Okay, everyone. This is question there. So which one you think?
Yes, please. I would like to hear your opinions about it. We can have the fun discussion that we so it's not always me who delivered the long speech. So I would like to have you to join me and have a fun discussion in this morning, please. Okay, Amir and Faiz. Excuse me if I uh, mispronounce your name. And Amir and Faiz choose the C option. Anyone? Other? Is there any other person who choose other than option C? Maybe. Nope. Okay, so let's discuss more about the option C there. The option C is maybe based on the several explanation that we have gone through since the beginning of the session. Maybe it is the clearer sign that the project has failed, but unfortunately, this 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 sign or this indicator will not be present as clearly on the day one after the system go live. So as you can imagine, this kind of indicator or this kind of sign maybe will be there after some time, maybe months later, maybe weeks later, or maybe years later after the project is delivered. So point A, point B, and point D usually can be identified quickly. Maybe at the end of the project managers can directly see the reports and see the date, see the numbers of money, and see the number of costs that have been consumed by the projects, see the technical report of the software testing. Those kind of signs can be directly read on the report. But option C, even if that is one of the clear signs that the project has failed, but unfortunately, this kind of sign cannot be directly seen at the end of the project. Maybe it will need some times before this kind of sign will appear themselves. And at at those time, we can say that, okay, so I don't think that the project is working as intendedly as planned. Yeah. So, okay, so let's continue to the next section of the presentation. So, previously, I have shared to you that actually an IS project cannot be treated as consistently as a pure technical project. So actually, an IS project is a technical project that is bordered and that is complemented by human systems. So a system and any information system in this context is not just a tool. It's not just an application, and it is not just a part of an organizational routines. It also affects how people work. It will affect how people make decisions. It will affect how people will manage the accountability between themselves. This is why that IS projects cannot be evaluated solely on a technical aspect. It will have to it will have to be evaluated based on the organizational and human aspect of the projects. So I think that we have gone through those basic information system courses. In those courses, we learned that information system actually uh, is not consisted of a pure technical elements. The technical elements will be there, such as the hardware, the software, and then the database, the network infrastructure will still be there. Yes, of course. But actually, an information system will also need to contain the people. It will need to contain the organization. It will need to contain the decisions, and it will need to contain the law and policy that is used as a foundation for the system to be able to work functionally. So behind the screens, behind the forms, or behind the user interface that we design, there is a certain business process that needs to be evaluated. And in that process, we will have to learn about the pattern, the decision making process that is used into that will be used as a foundation for those process. So behind every, let's say you have an approval button, or you have a confirmation button in your screen. Behind every buttons, there is an authority and there is a responsibility of a certain people that will click them. So building the software or building the screen or building the data is only some part of the project, but it is not a complete part of the project. So from that definition that we have gone through the basic the introduction courses of information system, actually I think the power of information system, it can change completely how people will do the work, and it will change completely how people coordinate their work with their peers, or they can change how the people will complete their assignment. It will change how people communicate with their fellow departments in the organization and so on. So a new systems will always change who depends on whom. So which department will rely on which department. It will change how information moves from the certain department to the other. It will change on how quickly the errors will become visible. So the I think the most intriguing part of an information system is about the transparency and the accountability. When you introduce a system, there's a chance that somebody's fault or somebody's weakness when doing their work will appear instantly in the system. it can be tracked, it can be monitored, it can be seen clearly from the system. So this is one of the risks. This is one of the risks that the projects is often trigger an emotional reaction, and sometimes the political reactions as well from the organization because of that kind of potential that the system can have. So basically, in every system that we plan, in every system that we manage during the project, uh, actually, I think it can be divided into two parts. It can be divided into two sections. The first one is the feasible ones, the feasible system. The feasible system is the easiest components of the system that we can clearly see, and is the easiest part in the system that we can directly demonstrate in front of other people. We can show the screens, we can show the forms, we can show the reports and charts and dashboards, anything fancy that we design during the analysis and design phase of the project. So this is the part that users actually see during the maybe the training session or the testing session or maybe the acceptance session. This is the part that initially attract the users to use the software. And unfortunately, this is the part that most of the developers and the vendors and the technical people usually focus on the most. So if we put our focus, if we put our attention to our whole attention to only the visible part of the system, actually it will not tell us the whole story about whether the people will trust the system later or whether the people will use it later and they will use it for years later after the project is concluded. Because actually there is a second part of the system, which for me, let's say I just label it as the invisible part of the system. The invisible part of the system, it's more difficult to see. It's more difficult to see, but most of the times they have the more power uh, to decide the outcomes of the projects. Maybe the system will include assumptions of the people about certain things, about assumptions about how certain work should be done. It includes habits of certain division or certain departments. It includes habits how this department have developed over many years. So let's say the procedures of an organization is something that's been there for years. Procedures, oh, we can say the SOP, I think, the terms, the standard operational procedure. It is something that it's been developed over the years, and maybe that's the way of working that these people know and these people follow for maybe the rest of their careers. And so this kind of pattern, it will also include trust, and it cannot and it possibly be classified as can be decide can decide whether the people trust or distrust the system. It will decide the people will trust or distrust the data, the management process, the IT infrastructure that run behind it, or the vendors actually. If this kind of invisible aspect is totally ignored by the project manager, so most of the time the system will be rejected. It will be ignored by the users because of the fears, because of the uncomfortable because of the awkwardness of the system, because they are worried when I use the system, I will be exposed. That is the fear that we have to take care about when we manage the IS projects. Because actually, when we introduce a system, uh, at the same time, we can also disturb the routines as well, because they have this way of working that they have been done for many, many years. And when dealing with that kind of issue, actually people do not always resist the technology because they are anti-technology. People do not always resist new software because they do not understand the software. No. Most of the time, these people resist, or these people ignore the system because they think that the system disrupts their routines. This system disturb uh, how they survive in this organization for this so many years. So, and sometimes these people will think that the old way of working actually feels faster than the new process that is introduced in the system. Well, maybe it's not because they're actually faster, but because of these people actually think that they're more comfortable in doing the old way. And actually, the one of the most uh, feared things in organization is change, and I think we all know and we all agree about that. Change is something that is incredibly challenging to manage in an organization. So actually, the resistance of the people is often a message that something related to the human system has not been addressed properly by the project manager or the project teams in this context. So I will I will share to you some of the patterns, some of the issues that I have. Maybe I have experienced it myself, or I have read it in the literature or the current research that these patterns repeatedly appear in many projects that we know that each of these patterns will show that how human uh, misalign the expectation, how human misalignment can damage, can break the project outcomes. So during this section, I will ask you to think about whether you have seen this kind of similar patterns in the projects that you've been involved in. Maybe it's not always about software. It is not always about the information system. And I believe that all of the students here have been involved in several projects during their lives. They are maybe small projects or medium projects. And I would like to invite you to identify whether these patterns you have seen before. The first one is the misunderstood problem. Yeah, this is the first pattern that we know about the human side problems of the project. So most of the time, the project team uh, is able to deliver the request, is able to deliver the outcome. But actually, the project team has not addressed the real need of the people. This will happen when the team builds what the people ask for, and it is usually documented in the requirement documents. Maybe we learn about it in the system analysis and design courses in our university. But actually, this this kind of requirements that is documented inside a requirement document maybe will not always reflect what they are truly need. Let's say, during the requirements elicitation or the requirement analysis, there is this department or this user who are asking for a dashboard to be included in the system. And then the project team, maybe the system analyst or maybe the system architect, literally document the request. This user, department A, is asking for a dashboard. So I will design the most beautiful, the most interesting interactive dashboard that I can design. And yet, after the project is delivered, after the implementation, actually the people still do not use them. It is the real issue, that I have been experienced even now, because our team have been developing the system in our universities maybe for more than 10 years now. And I can say that there are more than 30 types of reports that have been included in the system, in our system that's being used in our university. And I can confidently say to you that maybe between those 30 types of reports, maybe the management just use not more than half of them, even though all of those reports and dashboard is actually developed based on the requirements that they say themselves. But after years and years and years of usage, I think most of the reports will not be accessed by these users that they ask for themselves. So actually, the real issue is not about the absence of the dashboard, because the dashboard is there, the chart, the diagram is there. But actually, the main problem is the distrust of the people of whether the data is accurate or not, because they they not always confident that these beautiful charts can reflect the core problems related to the decisions that they are going to make. So actually, the request of a feature in the software is not always related directly to a problem statement. So that's why the system analyst or the project manager may have to dig deeper between the lines or between the words of the stakeholder during the scope initiation phase of the project. Okay, so move on to the second pattern of this section. The second pattern is what I call is the silent stakeholder. Let's imagine that you are invited to a project coordination session where the attendance is the people of power in the organization. Let's say in the university, you invite the chancellor, you invite the president, you invite the vice president of the university, and you invite the deans, you invite the head of faculty. And then at the same time, there are some people, maybe the academic office, maybe the finance office is also invited. So when you are invited to this kind of environment, I think we will agree that the attention during the whole session it often goes to people with the more formal power and authority. Let's say if we invite a president or invite a chancellor, maybe the attention will certainly go to these people naturally because they have those power. But actually, some of the most important users, the user that can decide the outcome of a project, will remain quiet in this session because they have not as big as an authority compared to the other participants that invited in the project. So, and I can assure you that these people of power will be invited to talk more about their requirements. So the project team will have a lot of requests, a lot of statements, a lot of data, a lot of requirements from the people of power, but not so much from the people who actually do the real tasks. So with this kind of environment, the people with power mostly have this kind of belief, this kind of faith that everything that they plan will always work. Let's say the dashboard need to contain this data, this data, this data, then this data, and they will confident in their statements that this will work and I will use them. But actually, the one who knows the messy part, the ugly part of the work is the people who still remain quiet in the room because they do the work day to day, because they have the experiences of dealing with the not perfect things. So if we, as a project manager, if we decide to ignore this type of users, yes, the project will still complete and the project will still classified as a success in an administrative way, but it will likely to fail in the real world because the adoption is most often sits closer to the person who do the daily operations. And actually, as a project manager, I think I do believe that we need to hear more from the people from this operation side. So this kind of situation will lead us to this question. Who is often the most underestimated stakeholder in an IS project? Because among these users in the options will likely be invited in the meeting, but not all of them will be dominant and will be having the loudest voice in the room. So I will ask to you, so who do you think is often the most underestimated stakeholder in a NICE project? Option A, the top management. Option B, the end users who do the daily operational work. The C, the project sponsor, or G, the vendor that we invite as our partner in the project. So please, ladies and gentlemen, I will invite you to have your opinion about this. Who do you think is the most underestimated stakeholder? B. Okay, thank you. Faiz answers B. Akil answers B. And Hafiz answers B. Most of you answer the B option. Yes, and I will agree with you that this user, the end user who doing the daily operational work, the daily administrative work, will often be underestimated during a meeting. But based on my experience and based on the literature, if you have the chance to be a project manager, I will urge you and I will suggest you that you need to hear more from these kind of users, because they know the it is them who actually know the ugly side of the project, the ugly side of the operation. So most of the time, that is more important requirements that we need to consider for the success of our project. So thank you to all of you who have responded with the answers. And let's continue with the third pattern of the section. The third pattern of the section is actually the illusion of agreement. So maybe in my experience, this kind of pattern happens more in the projects with which involve the, I don't know, I don't know to how to explain this, but I think when we have people from Indonesia or Malaysia or maybe the Asian people, the people that is invited to a project is most likely to agree on anything. Everyone agree to anything. Maybe not so vocal, not so loud compared to people from, let's say, from if we have a certain project, let's say from the UK or the Australia, they tend to be vocal and they can comfortably raise their concerns in a formal meeting. But we as a Southern Asian people, I think Indonesia and Malaysia share the same culture, I believe, including me as well. Gitu ya. We tend to be agree on anything. We tend to avoid conflicts. We tend to, let's say, we need to find a way where everyone can be comfortable and happy and anything. So actually, this kind of pattern, this kind of environment is dangerous for the project, because when everybody is silent, everybody is agree, uh, it can be falsely perceived as a progress. So when everything say yes, so we can continue with this. Do you agree with this? Do you agree with this? Yes, 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 and then we can have the progress. We can continue with the project. And after a while, maybe the project will be finished. The meeting ends smoothly. All of the documents are approved and assigned, and they got stamped with approve from the maybe the finance department, and then the project team got their bonus and salary and such. But I think the word approval, it actually a dangerous word, because it can perceive as different decisions among the different departments. Let's say that uh, let's say that we are in a meeting together with several departments in an organization. Let's say the finance team are there, the HR teams are there, maybe the operation office is there. And when they see the word approval, actually these departments will translate it into different things. The finance department actually think that approval means that the budget will have to be verified and will have to be checked, and it needs to be made sure that the money is there. That means approval. But the HR departments can see that approval means that somebody needs to validate the decision. it can be approval if your supervisor have accepted, have reviewed it, and have agreed with it. That means approval. It means that your supervisor have to be involved. But maybe the IT department will have to translate the approval word in the different meaning. Let's say that the IT departments, because they often deals with the software, so the IT will translate it that approval means that somebody will click a button on the screen, and after they click the button on the screen, they will need to update a certain record in the database, regardless of who doing it or whether the money is there or whether the decision have been changed or anything. They will not care about. They will not understand those things, and they will think that when somebody approves something, it means that some user will have to click a button. So the IT will expect that if you click a button, that you have to know the responsibility of clicking that button. So this kind of difference between the different departments, it can seen as a potential conflicts later in the projects. And unfortunately, when this appears later in the project, any kind of change, any kind of modification to fix the requirements will be more expensive to do, since we all know that uh, if any modification or any change that is performed on the scope of the project, it's actually better to discuss it on the beginning phase of the project rather than the later part of the project. So when everything have a different perspective about some things, and it it is not discussed in details, it will be a potential conflict later in the project. So the next pattern is the change that nobody owns. We all know that all of the features that is designed inside the system have a clear owner, because if we document a requirement document in maybe the analysis phase of the system, when we write a certain functional requirements of a software, actually we always need to write who is the owner of this requirement, right? That is the common pattern that we learn since we are attending the courses in the university. Yes, the feature have an owner, and the requirements have an owner, but unfortunately, when some change are performed towards the requirements, that change itself will not have a specific owner. So this happens many things in the software projects. The requirements have an owner, but the change, they have no clear owner, because usually the system owner will ask, how will this software will be maintained. But if there is change in the project, actually the question that needs to be asked is, who will help these people to move from the old way of working to the new way of working? Who will be leading those processes? Who will direct these people to work using their new way, using this system that we produce? Without the definition of the ownership of the change, so this user may have to receive the new system to them, but without any context that is beneficial to them. They can be know which buttons that needs to be clicked, which menu that needs to be accessed, but they do not know why they should do it. So actually there's a saying in the project management in the project management things that the project closure or the go live session is actually not the same as the organizational readiness. When you complete the project, it does not always mean that the organization is ready to implement this. Not always the case. And because that is not always the case, so as a project manager, we need to ensure that somebody will have to take responsibility. Maybe at some situation, that responsibility will be handled to us as the project manager to lead the change, and it is completely normal and it is okay. It will be no problem. But yes, but somebody have to take charge and somebody have to take the responsibility, and the sponsor will need to decide that who will be responsible for the change. Because if not, the system can go live, the system can be deemed as successful, but actually the organization is not prepared to run the new system. It is one of the pattern that we will see a lot in the real world. And the final pattern that I will share to you is actually one of the most common pattern that maybe we can probably see since we are university students or we are high school students. The last pattern that I want to say you is the exhausted team. The exhausted team and is the condition when you have your team on paper, on you can see by your own eyes that these people, that my team is still working. Often they're still working over time, over hours, and they may do the work beyond the working hours. Yes, this team can still deliver the software. They can work like they actually do the work as intended. But actually, a tired team or exhausted team, maybe they can do the work, but they rarely deliver a good judgment. Because when people say in the project management, whether it is an IS project or whether it is a, let's say, construction project, people will say that all projects are stressful. Yes, I do believe in that as well. But a tired team and an exhausted team can also change the quality of thinking, the quality of cognitive ability of your team. So how you can predict this kind of pattern is just watch your team, just watch the project team. If you have you have these feelings that your team may become more reactive on certain issues, or they may become defensive more, and they're less willing to discuss challenging issues, and they just say yes, okay, let's go with it. And let's say we ask for something, saying okay, I will do it, and then they say this kind of things. Maybe it's a sign that these people and this team is actually exhausted. They will do the work, they will comply to the instructions that been given by the PM, but actually they will not put a good judgment on their work. They may be present in the meetings, but maybe they will not involve, and they may not involve themselves in the meetings. So they may stop challenging you in some unrealistic assumptions, uh, and that is a dangerous thing to have, because you will need to be surrounded with people that constantly challenge you on your ideas. If the people surround you they avoid to challenge you in your ideas. Maybe it's because they are tired, they're exhausted. And if we have a situation like that, that is dangerous, because we may have to have a big problems later in the project. So actually, the later generation, or we call it Gen Z maybe, or Gen Alpha guys that we have nowadays, we'll call this a burnout. And the burnout of the team is not only about the people issue, yes, because, and I think along with the people issue, I think we need to treat it as a project risk as well, because when people get exhausted, they will lack the judgment to be involved completely in the project. And maybe there's something that they won't share to us, and it will cause the project to be broken later in the later phase of the project. So, after sharing those common patterns of the human side failures in the project, I think there's a certain works that needs to be done by the PM, and those work is actually the hidden work. The this works is not part of the administrative tasks of a project manager, but I think they should, the PM should understand that uh, the people that they work with are human after all. So project manager is should be someone who understand about these facts. So the first one, so actually a project manager is not only to manage the formal tasks, it's not always to manage the Gantt chart or manage the network diagram, or they manage the project budget. It's not always about the technical class aspect of the project, but actually the project managers have to manage the interpretation of the people that they work with, because different stakeholders actually interpret the same project in a different way. So every stakeholders have their urgency. A sponsor maybe seeing a strategic value of a project, but the technical users may seeing this as an additional workload from themselves. So if a project manager cannot balance those two things, so the project will not have the result that they would want. So this interpretation and these differences between the different stakeholders can be a potential conflict later if the project manager cannot make it explicit and documented. So the project manager will have to sense making these different perceptions of the different stakeholders. The next hidden word is the translation word. And this one, I believe that is this is the core ability of the people who have information system knowledge, because the information system knowledge has to be standing in the middle between the business person and the technical persons. So project managers actually have to translate the language between the business language and the technical language. Because I don't think that business people will describe the problem as a, let's say, the programming language or the architecture or the database language. No. And vice versa, the developers will not talk the same way with the business users. So that is the situation where the project manager have to be standing in the middle of in the middle between the business person and the technical person. So the project manager will have to translate between these sides. So so any decisions will become clearer. So any decisions that will be made will be easier to decide. And then the next work of the project manager is how the project manager should always be able to read the room. I think the project manager have to notice from the early phase of the project. The PM should notice who is silent, who is confused, who is hesitant in the meetings, or who seems to be overloaded with words. Because this kind of expression, maybe the silence, the confusion, the resistance, it can be seen as a signals. Silence can seems to be an agreement, but it may also means fear from those people. They are afraid to express their voice. So maybe if you know someone is who is overly silent in a meeting, we can have 1 or 2 moments in those meetings to ask those person to know what's on their mind actually, because when everybody is agreeing on something too quickly, it can be commitment, yes, but it may also mean avoidance, that actually they want to avoid the responsibility, so they just keep silent. And this is a situation that we do not want in a project, because the resistance or the avoidance of responsibility maybe will become a bigger issue later in the project. So actually this work in reading the room will help the PM to detect risks before they become an even larger problems later in the project. And then the next work is to protect the problem. So every project, I believe that every project starts with a concrete problems. The project sponsor actually want a specific problem to be solved, but along the way, after several meetings that is held between the project manager, the developers, and the stakeholders, after some meetings, there may be some additional requests about the system, maybe some random features being asked, maybe some reports are being asked by different stakeholders. Over the time, these requests and these ideas will accumulate, and this request will dilute your actual problem. Yes, we cannot ignore that some of these requests are actually useful, but the others will distract you from the original purpose of the project. So if the PMs cannot protect the problem, so the project later will become a pile of random features that have been asked by different stakeholders without any clear priority. So I think the project manager have to repeatedly ask themselves and ask the team, actually, what is the problem that we are solving by doing this project? It is a question that we need to constantly ask ourselves, because along the way we will see tons of features that are being asked without we have the clear idea about why these features are being asked. And then the next word as a PM is we have to see the adoption as a system is the delivery of project itself. The IS project's objective is not merely to deliver the system. We're not we're not making a software per se, but we have to treat this system to be a working components of these users' work in their daily activities. So in IS projects, adoption is an important part of the delivery of the projects. That's why in IS projects, we need to plan certain activities like training sessions, maybe the support section, maybe the counseling sessions about maybe some to deal with some fears that the users have. And we need time. Sometimes in IS projects, we need sometimes so the users can adjust their work to be able to adopt the new system, because actually to move between the old system and new system is not easy for them, and most of the time they need just time. Even they need time to familiarize themselves to doing in the new way. Yes, that the processes and the SOPs, the procedures may need to be updated before the system go live. Yes, it is something that we need to do, of course. But the main thing is the project manager have to make sure that the projects not only deliver the software, but also to make sure that it is adopted by the users. And there's something that we need to defend from the side of the users so they will be able to use the new system. And then about human risk. I think along the way in our IS project management course, we will talk about the risk management. Uh, I have I have no idea if you have been discussing this chapter in your course or not. Maybe Dr. Mazura will have to inform me later about this one. I'm sorry if I have not following the progress of your course, but one of the major chapter in the project management is risk management. So in risk management, more often that we ignore the human risk. So in this chapter of risk management, actually there's a certain document called the risk register. The risk register is a document that contains all the identified risks that have been founded by the project manager or the different stakeholders. And in this kind of risk registers often capture the technical aspect and the financial aspect more easily. Our teams are more comfortable to write the technical risks, such as maybe the server failure, the delay in the procurement, or let's say the overrun of the cost. And they will be more comfortable in writing those kind of risks in their risk register. But human risks are often avoided because human risk is often perceived as political risk. So they will avoid to write that down in the risk register because they will be uncomfortable, because nobody wants to throw a critic to other people in their document. So this kind of human risk will not be visible in the risk register, but actually this kind of human risk is the most dominant risk that can affect your project later in the process. So if you know that there is a certain risk that is too uncomfortable to be written in the risk register because most of these stakeholders are feared to write it, I think that is the risk that you should be treated as the most important thing. And you need to have those on your mind. Okay, continuing the previous slide, I would like to ask your opinion about this. Which human risk is most likely to be ignored in a project risk register? Previously, we learned about the human risk, and among these options between the user resistance, the server failure, the vendor delay, and budget overruns, which one do you think is most likely to be ignored in the project risk register? Please, I would like to know your opinion about this.
Okay, anyone? Mr. Kuku, actually this particular chapter we're going to touch on the last slide, the last topics.
Last topics on your
We
course. Yeah.
haven't touched it. It is about the how to resolve the conflict between the
Mhm.
humans and how to handle the project management, what we call topics on leadership as well. So
Mhm.
combine leadership with managing the risk.
Yes,
Yeah,
that would be great. I remember as well that you touched this kind of issue in our live session
yeah, yeah.
during a couple of weeks ago. So I think that is an interesting aspect to be discussed more
Mm-hmm.
about in our courses.
Okay,
Thank you so much, Dr. Mazura.
okay, okay. Anyone from the floor? Students, what do you think?
Okay, Faiz choose A, the user resistance. Okay, thank you, Faiz. A, Amir choose A, Fawaz A, Jessica choose A. Yes, yes, thank you to all of you. From these options that we can see in the screen, that the B option, the C option, the D options, it's mostly related to the technical aspect of the project risk or the financial aspect of the project risk. But actually, the option A is one that is closely related to human side of the risk. And funnily enough, I don't think that many project managers or many project teams are brave enough to write this down in the risk register, because if they write this down, I think that uh, it can offend in some way. It can offend the organization, or in the at least the management level of the organization. So, but actually, the option A is something that's so tricky to deal with, and we have to manage these things in a more calculated way. So thank you, all of you, to uh, be giving your opinions about this, and let's continue to the common leadership thing from the project management. So based on certain issues and certain patterns that we have discussed so far in this session, actually the project manager, I think, the project manager, I think, have to have more than two hats to be equipped with. So the project manager have to transition themselves from being an analyst, being a manager, to more of a leader themselves. So yes, that in our courses, the project managers will need to have the planning skills, the controlling skills, and the evaluating skills, yes, it is still needed, no doubt about that. But I think that these PMs will also need to understand the people, will need to understand the interpretation, will need to understand the assumption about the change. Technical knowledge of project management will always be important. I will certainly agree to that, but it also must be combined with the human aspect of the leadership. So I will share to you what is the additional roles that will be needed from the PMs in order to make the project more successful in terms of the human aspect of the project management. So the first one, and this one is actually we have discussed before, that VPN will also need to serve as the translator. Translators not always about the business versus technical side of the discussion, not always that, but actually the project manager needs to translate the user's pain to be included to be included into the project scope. They need to translate the business goals or the business KPIs into some realistic priorities for the projects to achieve. And previously, we have also talked about how the PMs will have to translate the technical constraints, the technical language, into a business trade-offs that the sponsor will have to decide. So actually, the project manager at the end of the day, they will have to translate the leadership expectation or the executive of the organization's expectation into some of realistic plans. Because most of the time, when the executive of the organization is there present in the meetings, uh, most of the time the PM will allow the executive to be the final voice of the decision, even though the expectation is not realistic actually. So I think the PMs will have to be more of a power to translate the expectation into a realistic plans, because it's not always the technical skill that matter at the end of the day, but it's also about the soft skill, the human aspect skill, and the survival skill to be managing this project from the beginning to the end. And then the second role that I will uh, I will share to you is about how a project manager being a facilitator for the team. Because in this kind of project environment, there are so many stakeholders that are being involved in a meeting. And each of these people have their own ideas of doing something. So the project manager have to be more of a facilitator to help these people think together before they make the common decision to be used as the basis of the project. Because the project manager should not always simply ask for an agreement, and the project manager need to create space for the user, the developers, the manager, or the sponsor to be able to reveal the assumptions that they have. Because sometimes the best meeting is the one that the hidden disagreement can be finally discussed together. So a good project manager can facilitate the hidden disagreement, the hidden conflicts into a manageable knowledge to be able to be inserted or to be facilitated into the project scope. And then the next role is about being the risk sensor. We have talked previously about this, and how the project managers will have to notice any kind of any weak signals that is produced by certain people in the projects before they become a feasible problems later in the projects. These weak signals uh, can be like maybe some user will stop attending the meetings without, I don't know, without any kind of valid excuses. They can be a signal. And then when you have a condition where your sponsors is constantly delaying the decisions, it could be a signal for you to understand. And then when you have the technical person like the programmer or the database architect, when this kind of technical person just stop asking about questions, uh, they stop doing any technical confirmation. I think that also could be a signal. So the project manager will have to listen to these signals, even though most of the time they are weak signals and not easily appears in your eyes. But the project managers need to react to it, so the project manager can respond and facilitate those risks into the plan of the project. So the project will have a success probability later in the later phase of the project. So the last role that I going to share with you is how the PM have to be the alignment protector. So this is the one role that uh, probably the students of the information system program have to excel, because in information systems, we have to align between the technology, the people, the process, and the organizational aspect of the people, that we have to align those things in order so the organization to be able to move together. So when we deal with the increasing of the tasks, previously we have discussed about this. Along the way, you will have to manage incoming tasks for the project. So there can be many features that being asked. There can be many requests that being thrown at you. So when this kind of situation happens, it's not always can be translated as a progress, because actually there is a possibility that the project team actually built something that no longer matches the actual problem of the project. So when this happens, the stakeholders may still participate, may still attend the meetings, may still be there when the invitation's coming, but actually they got emotionally disconnected from the project because they don't think that this kind of task will have a real benefits to them. So that's how the PM have to protect the alignment by constantly reconnecting the project uh, to the main purpose of the project, the main problem that we need to solve. So uh, this one will bring us to the last question that I will ask to you. And we all know that this last 2 or 3 years, the artificial intelligence platform has evolved rapidly. I think maybe in the last years, in the last year, 2025, let's say, I believe that Claude AI may release more than 5 major updates themselves, and they're becoming such a hit from the software engineer for the project manager to do their job. And most of the things that the project manager do can be assisted by the AI. And there is this statement that the AI maybe can replace the project manager in some, maybe not not in the near future, but there's a possibility in that. And if we have to respond to that kind of statement, and if you want to become an IS project manager tomorrow or in the near time, actually, which skill that you will need the most? Is it maybe the scheduling things, creating a Gantt chart maybe, or maybe technical design where you make the UML diagrams, the use case, the sequence diagrams, or anything? Or maybe you will need to be have skills with stakeholder communication, or you need to have skills in finance and budgeting. So among these options, what do you think the skill that you need the most if you like to become an IS project manager in the era of the artificial intelligence? So please, I would like to know your opinion about this. C, Arif will, yeah, C. Okay, Wardina, C. So bring Jessica, C, the stakeholder communication. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for your response. Yes. I would like to share a story that uh, I attended this symposium held by the Project Management Institute previously in 2025. There is this person from Malaysia who flew from Malaysia to Indonesia in order to attend the symposium. And this person demonstrate a very interesting session about how his I don't know, I actually forgot what kind of platform of AI that he was using at the time, but he was demonstrating that the project manager actually only need to have the project charter. They will only have the project charter, the initial document that we write, that we create at the early phase of the project, and they upload it to the platform, and they doing some some prompting or anything. I'm not reading into the details, but I think it took him no less than 10 minutes to be able to produce the Gantt chart, the network diagram, and the activity estimates for each of the activities. The WBS, the work breakdown structure, can be produced directly by the AI. I think if he wants to continue the session, I think he will also be able to demonstrate the financial and the budgeting aspect as well. And it is interesting because it's one of the formal session. I think that is the first session where the Project Management Institute actually showing that project manager is ethically can be using the AI to produce some technical documents. But I think that the human aspect of the project manager cannot be replaced by the artificial intelligence in the near future. So I think, yes, I do agree with you that the communication aspect, the relationship aspect of the project manager burden when dealing with dealing with the stakeholders is still important and cannot be directly replaced by the artificial intelligence. So that is an important statement that I want to share with you. So actually, to close the session, in IS project, I don't think that a working system will be enough to close the projects, because a system can be technically correct, the software is technically working, and it will still be practically ignored by the people. Yes, it can happen. Yes, it can pass the testing, but they will be rejected in their work by the user. It can happen. So the project, the IS, the application can have tons of good features and interesting charts and dashboards and anything, but actually no users will make that time to learn about them. So that's why I think that project success must be evaluated beyond the technical completion of the project. And I think that a project succeeds only when the people that it's intended to use it or trust to use it daily in their work, and can feel the real benefit of working with the new system. So that's why maybe the change uh, can be considered as a success. So I think the system will have to any kind of project, any kind of IS project will need to reevaluate themselves, because the work is not done when we develop the software, and we need to make sure that the organization also change with the system. Not always, it's not about whether the system changes or not, but the people have to change, and the people have to feel the benefit. People have to have the benefit from it. So I think that will be the things that I want to share with you and this morning. Thank you so much, and I will be happy to have a late following discussion with you about these topics. And I will return the session to Dr. Mazura. Thank you so much. I think your microphone is still muted, Dr. Mazura.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Koko. Okay, so thank you so much, Mr. Koko. So, okay, students, any questions? Would like to ask something, Mr. Koko, regarding the project management? Anything?
I will happy to
You are
have
most
the
welcome.
questions.
Mr. Koko,
Yes.
I am not sure about Indonesia, but in Malaysia, we got quite a situation right now whereby looking into the trends of our generation, you know, they are quite, not tough enough, I think. Uh, to in terms of handling the stress, as you mentioned before, I think, and one of the element or the factor that most influence our what we call SNT domain in our country right now is that our student is quite resistant or quite unable to handle the stress on doing things on a stressful thing might be, or it can be that they are quite burnout on things that they think is tough enough for them to handle.
Hmm.
So especially the Gen Z. So how is it the same situation happen in Indonesia?
Yes, it is a very interesting situation, because I do believe that it happens to the in our country, in Indonesia as well, because most of the companies, most of the projects that I have the opportunities to work with, also staying the same. I think the same concerns. Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily being a problem at this point, but it is a concern for them,
Mhm.
because I think the most explicit indicators of that
Yeah.
concerns is the turnover rate. I think Dr. Mazura can also confirm this with our friends in Malaysia, whether
Um,
the turnover rates in the project is higher than the
yeah.
maybe last few years compared to this. And
Yeah.
when we look at those numbers, actually, uh, the people who is coming in and coming out from the project, actually the young people,
Yeah.
where I cannot say representing the maybe the person who has psychology knowledge. So,
Mm,
so I don't I don't think that I can be sure to saying this, but yes, it is some problems that we have here in Indonesia as well,
yeah.
and it's yeah, I don't know because I also have I have three kids, Dr. Manzura. I
Okay.
have and the oldest one is also a teenager right now,
Yeah.
and I think that is also a little bit of problem that we as a parents have to deal with along the
We're
way.
more inclined towards the easier things, right?
Yes,
Nowadays.
they tend to choose the easier
Yeah.
option for themselves, and yeah. But the positive way and the positive way is this generation, I think they tends to be more vocal in
Yeah.
expressing their what they want. You know, they
Mm.
maybe one of the points that I've been saying in the session this morning is about the silent agreement can be a problem in the project. I don't
Okay.
think that it will be the problem with this
This,
generation because
nah, yeah,
they
exactly.
so yeah they so
Yeah.
confidently saying
Yeah.
this their disagreement. So that's the good point. I think.
They are very well versed on what they should and shouldn't do, right?
Yes.
As compared to us. I think in our
Yeah.
generation we just simply
Uh,
follow whatever the
uh,
leader or
yeah.
the our bosses said, right? But now I think they are quite vocal on what they want, and I think their rights on doing things and everything. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
So I think it is worldwide concern as well, Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Okay.
It's an interesting problem to have actually.
Yeah. So others, how students, any questions so far? Do you have any concern regarding these things?
Yeah. I think we are being silently judged by the our young friends here for us
Mm-hmm.
for discussing about
Betul.
because
If you are
because
not
this
comfortable in English, you can simply ask us on in Malay, basically. Yeah, I
yeah,
think Mr. Koko knows, ini understand our language as well. So boleh semua? Anything you
boleh
would like
boleh
to share?
silakan
Hmm.
silakan Indonesia we say
Sila.
silakan. Maybe in the chat box you can
Uh,
throw questions in the chat box as well, please.
boleh? Siapa?
Hello, Mr. Coco. Good morning.
Good morning. Good
My
morning.
name is Faiz.
Faiz.
Yes,
Yeah, hello Faiz. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you. Okay. So,
Yeah.
sorry for the first one. I can open the camera because my camera problem today. I don't know why.
No worries. No worries.
Okay.
No
So my
worries.
question is, can you share any advice for us to start our career in this project management PM?
To start the career in project
Yes.
management. Okay. 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 Is that
Okay, that's all for
the
me.
question?
Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Mansura, can I just directly answer the question or
Or Mr. Koko, you would like to look into the other question? We have one question in
oh
our
I
messages
think
as well.
can I just answer directly to
Sure.
Faiz's
Yeah.
questions maybe?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Just
Okay, so Faiz, I think the most effective way to start your career in project management is to be involving yourself in any kind of projects that have been presented to you. Maybe it's not always the professional projects. Let's say that you have let's say that you have the opportunities to hold a, let's say, a basketball tournament in your department, or maybe you want to hold a small training sessions for the schools that you came from in partner with the university. That is an interesting way to polish your skills in project management. And I think you need to pursue the opportunity to be the head of the committee. And that is the closest thing to a project manager will be in the professional terms. So whenever the opportunity is there to be the head of a committee of a small activities, you just go for it. I think they will polish your skill. That is I think the most efficient way to practice the skills. But when you are starting your career professionally, maybe in the upcoming years, can I know you are in what years in this moment, Faiz? What semester are you in right now?
Right now, I am in semester 5.
Fifth semester. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're in your third year, and I do hope that you will be graduating next year, maybe next year or the year after that, and you will be. I hope that you will be joining us in the professional sector of project manager. Uh, without one of the I don't think that I can say that this is an advice, because I'm still learning about this. Uh, I think that one of the most efficient way to start your professional career after you graduated from university is to get yourself a proper introductory level or entry level of international certifications. I won't promote any platform. There will be many options that you can choose from. You can take the ones from the PMI, like CAPM, or Google have been releasing their version of project management certificate as well in their platform. And maybe you can take those courses uh, online. But at the end of the day, uh, yes, that this kind of certification will test you in a cognitive way about your understanding about the concept. But I think you have to have your experiences as well, your real experience, and then that's why I urge you, I give you an advice to be involved in any kind of project that you may have the opportunities to, like organizing events or anything. That will be a great way to start your professional career in project management. Okay, I hope it helps. Thank you. Thank you, Faiz.
Okay. Mr. Koko, we have I think 2 more questions in messages in our conversation.
Okay. I think the first one from Hafizuddin.
Yeah.
Hafizuddin.
Yeah.
Okay. How should we handle conflicts with you? Okay. How should we handle the conflicts? Actually, this one, I will answer this based on my experience with you. Whenever we handle the conflicts uh, during between the team members, or maybe in some project that I've been involved with, is there may be a conflict between the development team and the stakeholders. And I think the most logical way to handle the conflict is to strip off the project manager title from your shoulder, and then being present with them, be present with them as a human, and in most situations, you have to position yourself as their friends, not as someone who will judge them or anything like that. And you will need to hear them out. You will need to hear about what the concerns that they have and what the concern that the other side have. And that's why one of the rules that I've been proposing in this section is project manager should be a translator to between the sides. So how to handle the conflicts? I think everyone have their own way to handle conflict based on their personalities. Yes, because let's say the popular psychological theory is maybe there are this kind of introverted person and this kinds of extroverted person, and those different person will handle conflict in their own way, and that will be a different way. So what I'm saying that uh, I will not propose a certain way to handle the conflicts because maybe I don't know how are you in terms of personality, and how do you usually uh, resolve the conflicts that have been there around you. But actually, what I suggest is sometimes we don't have always to be the project manager. Sometimes we have to sit down together with them, being the friends that they need, and we hear them out. And that is a great starting point to handle the conflict. Actually, let's say have coffee together and have lunch, and maybe you just go sightseeing or anything, and that will be resolving most of the problems. Actually, I know it's not a theoretical suggestion. Uh, it's not discussed enough in the PMBOK or the textbook, but I think that that is the most efficient way.
Yeah, we agree to that, Mr. Coco. Actually, yes, we need to be, uh, sort of like what we call a counselor to them as well sometimes,
Yep.
yeah. So first and foremost would be friend to all the team members actually.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
We have another question, it seems.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jessica.
Jessica, yeah. Which of the four leadership roles contribute the most to project success and why? Well, uh, this relates. Can I answer question directly, Dr. Manzura? So
Okay.
yeah, in my class, Jessica, thank you for the question. In my class, I have this internal jokes with my students that in my class, my students know that whatever questions that they throw at me during the class, I will almost certainly answer them in a similar way. The answer for me most of the time is it depends.
Yeah, exactly.
It depends.
It depends.
And I think I will be answering Jessica's question in the same way as usual in my class. Which of the four leadership roles contribute the most to the project success and why? It depends because actually from the if Jessica or any of you have been following the discussion with Dr. Adila, Dr. Mazura in your courses, we know that each of the project that we manage is unique. Even though the objective is the same, is to create and implement some kind of software, and maybe we will have the opportunity to create a similar software from our previous project, but actually each of the project is unique. It will be unique in terms of who is the stakeholders, what are the problem that they are going to achieve, and what are the personalities that you have in your team related to Hafizuddin questions previously, and that alone will decide what kind of roles that you have to have, that you have to wear in those situations to contribute the most to the project success. Let's say that you have a stakeholders which is maybe more vocal and more aggressive in their nature, and you have a same personality for your team for this project. So in that way, I think the most suitable roles that you have is to be the mediator between them. So if you also be the focal voice of the project, then I think the project will be in chaos. But I think if you have I think the stakeholder with I don't think they have the confidence to say things in front of you. Maybe they don't have the technical knowledge, and they tend to agree with you all the time. They agree and agree and agree. And we have discussed in this morning that too many agreements can also be a problem. And in this situation, I think the most suitable roles to have is to be the more vocal, to be more aggressive project manager in dealing with this kind of stakeholders. So in short, I think I have to answer it depends, but I hope that you get the idea what I'm saying for your question, Jessica. But thank you so much for the question.
Yeah, Mr. Coco. Actually, 4 p.m. They wear multiple hats at the same time.
Multiple
So,
hats, really.
yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Students? Other questions? I think they are still in dormant state, Mr. Coco. You know
Oh,
what?
okay.
We just go through like a long sem break, Hari
Okay.
Raya break last week, and then this
Oh,
week I think
okay.
only 2 days classes, and most of them is online.
Mhm,
So that's
mhm.
why I think they are not putting into gears yet
Yeah, yeah.
to
We have,
accelerate the
yeah,
studies right now.
we have so many days of so
Yeah,
many public holidays in Indonesia as well as
exactly.
week.
Most of the yeah. So thank you so much. I think we are ahead of our schedule already, Mr. Koko, yeah. So I think we wrap up our discussion today. So we would like to express our deepest appreciation and gratitude to our Mr. Koko for very meaningful and beneficial knowledge for today's sharing session. So actually, I think the students gain a lot of useful input, especially overall project management issues, planning, deployment, and human-related issues as well. And we believe that this sharing definitely provide guidelines for them or guidance for them towards them that would awaits them in the future. So, Mr. Coco, again, we thank you, and we hope we can collab again in the future with you
Thank you
and
so much, Dr. Adila,
Universitas.
Dr.
Yeah,
Mansura. Thank you so much.
thank you, Mr. Coco. So, with that, kita
Apa
conclude.
Majura?
And anything, Dr. Khairudillah, nak cakap apa-apa? Boleh?
Dr. Adila, thank you so much for the event. Thank you for having me.
Boleh kita bergambar ramai-ramai. Dr. Majura
Boleh,
taruh-
boleh.
Oh,
So,
boleh,
everyone,
boleh.
can
Boleh,
you on
boleh.
your camera now so that we can, take few mementos on this very particular session? Boleh on pictures sekarang? Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Freestyle. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Koko.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you
Dr.
again, Mr.
Adila. Thank you for
Koko.
having me.
So, insyaAllah, we end our discussion with Al-Fatihah and Tasbih Kifarah. Sorry, Surah An-Nas.
Wah.
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin.
Terima
Thank you
kasih
so much,
semua.
everybody.
Assalamualaikum. Bye.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Koko.
Thank you so much, Faiz.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Coco.